Hello, hello, and Happy New Year, and welcome to my new abode, my new studio. This is not AI. This is, in fact, a real kitchen behind me, and I couldn't be happier. It's a vast change from the apartment I live in Mallorca, and now we're making a move to South Africa. And this is the glorious place that I get to live in, and I'm so glad that you get an opportunity to see it, and boy, are you going to see more of it. But enough about me. This is about you and about getting you back on the horse and fast, because I bet if you're one of the many, many millions and gazillions of people who had big dreams and big ideas about how they were going to show up for themselves or what they were going to do and achieve in 2026, you might have noticed that January threw a few curveballs. You've got off to a bumpy start, or you got off really well, and now it's all come grinding to a halt. And what I want to do with you today is I want to get you back on the horse. I want to get you back on track fast. So if you're new to this channel, my name's Helen. I actually help people get rid of yo-yo dieting, reconnect with their beautiful signals, and learn how to honor their bodies again, and reconnect with the intuition around eating, and drop all of that body shame. And if that's something that you want to do this year, and you're struggling to change your relationship with food, or maybe you started that diet in January and now it's all fallen apart, then this video is absolutely going to be for you. However, you can apply this to absolutely anything in your life. It doesn't matter what you want to do and achieve for yourself in the year ahead. This is for you if you've struggled to get going. Now, I know, I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a gym owner. I used to own a little CrossFit gym. And I always thought, oh man, in the beginning of January, everybody's going to be here signing up after an indulgent New Year and Christmas period. But in fact, what I discovered is that we didn't see people coming through the door until February. And over the years, since leaving the gym closed down, but starting my coaching business, what I've noticed is the same thing happens, not just for my own clients, but for me as well, where I have these dreams, ambitions, goals, desires, things that I want to put into place. And it always takes a while to get the needle moving, to get the ball rolling. And it might be that it's taken you a full January, or maybe you're just stuck in a little bit of a rut and you're in danger of just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I used to be one of those people where I thought I had a dream, or I had this thing I was going to do, and I tried and it didn't work, or it never got started, and therefore I'm a failure, I'm a mess. And then I just used to give up. And what I've learned over the years is that this slow start process is part of change. You know, we see these things on social media, or I don't know, in motivational sort of speaking world, where it's like you just have to make one big decision. Sorry, Tony Robbins, I do love you, but that is one of the things I hear all the time. You make one big decision, and then it feels as though once you've made this big decision and this big commitment, that all the doors should open up and the energy would be there, and we'll just rock and roll, baby. Now, sometimes that happens, but more often than not, we make a big decision, we get very motivated, we get very committed, we get very determined. And then there's a kind of slow start to it all. How many times have you said, right, I'm going to start, doing my exercises tomorrow or Monday or whatever the case may be, and it takes a few weeks or months to get things rolling? How many times have you decided you're going to make that call, or, build that business, and it just takes a bit longer than you expected to get moving? So instead of thinking I'm a failure, there's something wrong with me, we're going to just reframe that as slow starts are the way starts happen. And if you'd have a few bumps in the road, that's January. Think of them as potholes and speed humps. The road was full of good intentions, but there were all these potholes and speed humps along the way that you weren't expecting. And instead of interpreting that as a character flaw, we're just going to say, you know what, whenever I start to do something new, whenever I'm in a space of growth, whether it's career, relationships, food freedom, there's going to be a bit of a slow, bumpy start more often than not to get the systems moving. So that's the first thing. Let's just change or shift our expectations from one of smashing it out the park to slowly finding a rhythm and routine that we can stick to. Because anything worth doing is worth doing for a long period of time, especially in the world of food freedom. We're looking for slow, sustainable changes. If you want to ditch diets, if you want to embrace your body and love your body again, if you want to find a wonderful free relationship with food, that ain't something that's happening overnight if you spent decades doing the exact opposite. So a slow start to find rhythms and routines that work for you is key. And instead of reframing, thinking of, well, that's just me, I'm a loser, I'm broken, I'm failing, and then give up, we're just going to go, no, slow starts is the way this works, and that's okay. The second thing we want to do is hit a minimum effective dose. So if you've dropped the ball on something, and you're trying to pick it back up again, you might be tempted to go in hard and fast and play all out. Maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, right, you're right, Helen, I'm going to go for it from now onwards. I'm going to reframe all of this, and now I'm coming in hard. And now I'm going to say to you, whoa, whoa, okay, let's slow this down. I know you want big things for yourself, but why don't we commit to the minimum effective dose? I'm dripping with sweat. It's so hot here right now. Welcome to South Africa in February, the hottest month of the year. And I have no AC, so I'm dripping with sweat. Nonetheless, back to the point. Minimum effective dose are the best way to make this happen. When you're pumped up, fired up, and ready to go, it's so tempting to go all out. And I would say that's lovely, have those dreams, but why don't we bring it down to a minimum commitment that you're going to show up and do for yourself, if it's every day or whatever the case may be. In the world of food freedom, what I might say to anybody who'd had a very indulgent Christmas and felt like they'd fallen off the horse, and now they're trying to get back into a rhythm and routine, I might say to you, if you're my client, let's start with just doing a tummy check-in once a day in the morning. And if you don't know what a tummy check-in is, you can reach out to me and I'll send you a video that you can watch where I go through exactly how to connect with your tummy again. But a simple tummy check-in once a day can change the whole game. We don't have to do it all. We don't have to be doing all the headworm busting and the emotional release work and the tummy check-ins all in one go. We can actually start, and I would say preferably, you're getting back on the horse. You're not going to swing your leg over and go galloping. You're going to start really slowly with the minimum effective dose. And anything you do over and above that is golden. And if you can keep that up for the next 21 days or so, then it's a good chance that this is going to be a habit you can set for life. And most importantly, whenever life gets busy, you can come back to that minimum effective dose. So if movement's something you're working on this year, then instead of going, right, I'm going to train every day, 5 days a week, I would say 5 days a week is a nice idea. Let's start with a commitment to 2. And if you hit 5, awesome. But if you ever have a bad week or life throws you off course again, you're going to do your best to hit 2. And if you can keep doing that, that habit begins to hardwire, because here's the third part of what we're speaking about. Practice is everything. Repetition, repetition, repetition is the mother of skill, no matter what you're doing. So whatever you repeat encodes itself. Whatever you repeatedly do, you become. Whatever you repeatedly think, you believe. And so when you're trying to create new habits, new systems, new anything, it's going to take repeatedly doing something new. And there's ultimately going to be a bit of resistance around that. Maybe that's what the potholes and the speed humps are all about. Or maybe your expectations were out of line with reality and we've already reframed that. But ultimately, just lost my train of thought. Whatever you repeatedly do is what becomes the new habit. And so I would rather, and I think we'd all rather, show up for ourselves repeatedly, day in and day out, to encode and automate and make automagical something totally new, then think we're going to achieve too much and fail at that or not do anything at all, and then ultimately make no change. So it's far better to do a minimum repeatedly than it is to go out a little bit too hard, exhaust yourself, feel like a failure, and give up. And that was the way I used to do things. And now I've learned slow and smooth wins the race. It's not as exciting. There's not as much dopamine attached to slow and steady. But when it's something you truly want for yourself, then that minimum done repeatedly is the magic. And it's not as exciting as doing big things and getting big breakthroughs all of a Sunday, all of a sardine. We love that, right? But it's just not realistic. So realistically, do something small, show up for yourself repeatedly, and that's what's going to win the game. And then the last thing we want to talk about is, do you have a strategy that will actually work? If you're doing, building anything, growing, changing, creating something new for yourself, you absolutely need to get on that horse and you need to start doing the minimum and doing it daily. But by God, let it be something that actually helps you get where you're going. We don't want you getting on that horse and riding in completely the opposite direction of where you want to be. And this is what I see when people pick up dieting at the beginning of the year, which is very common, right? After an indulgent Christmas, 9 times out of 10, everybody's getting on a new diet. They may not call it a diet these days. They might call it a lifestyle change. Fine. But ultimately, it's a diet. And I want to give everybody who's on a diet a big hug and say, go, great. I love you for doing it. However, diets tend to have a failure rate of 90 to 98%. So if you're on a new diet, you're finding it hard to stick to, I invite you to begin looking into something new, looking into something that you can actually sustain. And if a diet is not sustainable, if a healthy lifestyle change, which basically involves changing your food, isn't sustainable, what is? And I'd like to invite to you to consider the idea in 2026, instead of embarking on a new restrictive diet protocol, instead, what about embarking on what you were born for, which is to reconnect to your inner signals that know exactly what you need, in what quantities you need it for your optimal health. And all of those signals have been horribly out of whack, partly because of the dieting, where you ignored all of those signals and doubled down on restriction or forcing something in that you didn't really want, that your body wasn't asking for. Or alternatively, you were born into the clean plate club, where you were forced to eat all the food on your plate and you overrode all the signals of fullness. So if we want to reconnect you with your hunger and your fullness, and over time build that ability to listen to that incredible intuition that knows how much you need and what quantities, and is helping you all the time to try and stop when you're full, if you can tune into that again, that is the sustainable path that will serve you for the rest of your life. The minimum of intuitive eating, the minimum of food freedom, is the thing done repeatedly that creates a totally different and easy and automagical relationship with food, as opposed to following a strategy that was never going to work because it was absolutely opposed to what your body's requirements for nutrition are. So sometimes you stumble across a diet, a healthy lifestyle change that actually really works for your body, in which case, fabulous. I'm not saying don't try things on for size. Go keto, try vegan, do whatever you want. See where your body comes alive, where it feels good, where you're getting all the signals from your body that are telling you, this really works for me. This is my happy place. But if you're trying to force cabbage soup down you, or protein down you, or whatever the case may be, and everybody's going, this is the last thing I want, that's probably your little intuition saying, please, can we go back to eating what I need? And that doesn't mean eating anything you feel like. That's very different to actually being able to hear your body and eat according to what it is asking for. And when you do that, you feel more nourished, more satisfied, and you're able to stop when you're full. So the strategy of intuitive eating, though, it's not sexy and it's not cool, and you don't get these like quick wins. It is the long-term sustainable strategy that works. Why? Because you don't have to think about it after a while. When you can hear your hunger and you can stop when you're full, and you can become really good at doing those two things, just those two things alone can move the needle in the direction of weight loss, if that's your goal this year. It isn't for everybody. But what it certainly does is helps bring so much peace and safety back to your nervous system that you know that you never have to worry. You don't have to wake up tomorrow and think about food and what are you going to eat and how much and how many calories. You just know that you can trust your body to tell you what it needs, the same way you can trust your body to breathe, and the same way you can trust your body to tell you when it needs rest. We're not always good at doing either of those things, but that's a story for another day. So if you are looking at diets this year and you've fallen off the diet plan, then now's the time to say, hey, is this strategy that I have for myself, whether I do it as a minimum or not, whether I get back on this horse or not, is this strategy actually going to work for me long term? And if you've tried this diet before and it has not worked for you, there's a fairly good chance it'll happen again. Now, you could double down and just try harder. You could try that. But ultimately, diets generally don't work. So I'd like to invite you to consider a new strategy, which is the strategy of intuitive eating. Of course, I have a program I can talk you through, but there are wonderful books you can read about it. And if it's something that fires you up and think, you know what, I'm ready to play the long game, then everything I've spoken about in this video, you can deploy and it will start working for you in a way that will blow your mind. But it won't happen overnight. And it won't happen with the quick wins necessarily that you're really hoping for and that you experience with dieting. So play the long game, my friends. But for all of us, no matter where you are on your journey, if you're reconnecting with your body in this lovely intuitive fashion, or you're trying to build a business or repair a relationship, it all takes time. And the big last thing that I want to wrap this live up with a bow with is anything is possible, provided it's a strategy that can work for you. Anything is possible with a long enough time frame. And too often as human beings, we become upset when things haven't happened in the time frame that we wanted. But if we can hold on a little bit longer, if we can keep persisting and keep getting back on that horse, and as long as we're seeing these little moments of incremental progress along the way, it's that will win in the long term. So I'm going to And this was something that really made me think as I moved back to South Africa. And I see the businesses that over time have come and gone in the small town that I live in. And then I see the businesses that are there day in, day out. They've got a recipe that works. They've got customers that are happy. And they've just shown up and done the boring thing day in, day out. They didn't move. They didn't change. They didn't shift. They didn't switch. They didn't, change menus or whatever the case may be if it's a restaurant. But what I noticed this year so profoundly is that some businesses have just been the same for years and years and years. And those are the ones that are doing exceptionally well. Those are the ones that over time have built wealth and custom and employees that they can rely on. And I think anything that we do in life is the same. When we pick something and it starts to work, even if you have bumpy days, there will be speed humps, there will be potholes. But if you know that you're moving in the right direction, just stick with it. And whenever life throws you a curveball or you've bitten off a bit more than you can chew, you get back on the horse with these same sort of rules in place. Let me just commit to the minimum. Let me show up in that minimum kind of way. And let me do that repeatedly. And it will all just keep building on itself one after another. It's the only way to change anything. And there will be moments of exciting wins and dopamine hits that we can get from all of this. But more often than not, the big changes that we make require a slow, persistent, diligent showing up and just getting back on the horse every time there's a little knock and just getting off and getting back on. Because remember, you're never starting again. You're starting from experience. You're not starting again from scratch. You didn't just wipe the slate clean because you had a bad January or a bumpy January. You just start again and you carry on going. Start slowly, build some momentum. And before you know it, March, April, May, June, you'll be so glad you didn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater now because you had a bad start to the year. The worst thing you can do is go finding that next shiny object and, I'll try this thing because that will, no, just get back to the thing that was working and just keep doing it day after day. 17 minutes. How did that happen? It's lovely to be back live at lunch. I think I'm going to be moving the show to a Friday, but I'll keep you posted with that. We might do some Freedom Fridays instead of live at lunch. I'm just getting back to work after a big 3 weeks of kind of holiday and some moving, but settling in nicely now. And it'll be lovely to find my own rhythm and routine with all of this and maybe invest in some air conditioning. Yes. But if food freedom is something that you would really like to focus on this year, please reach out to me or use one of the links below so that we can get you into the membership or working with me one-on-one, because I know that the work that we do is going to take time. And if you can give yourself a year of commitment to this work, there's no doubt in my mind that while you might have had a bit of a bumpy start to next year, your experience with food and in your body will be so vastly different in 2026 to 2027 to what it is now. So for your consideration, check out the diets, end the yo-yo diets. I want to help you really understand where the emotional eating is coming from and begin finding new ways of reacting to those emotions and coping with difficult emotions. And lastly, let's reconnect you with that beautiful body of yours so you can begin appreciating it while you're on your weight loss journey, if that's your thing, and not waiting until you've lost the weight to actually appreciate this incredible vessel that you're living your life in. Because I can tell you one thing, it's absolutely certain. It is way more easy to look after and do good things for something you love than it is for something you hate. So with that, I'll leave you there. I'd love to see you in the Food Freedom community. There's some cool stuff coming up. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you on a Freedom Friday coming shortly. Adios.